My mother, after turning 18, went to a Halloween party with a bunch of girls from Pacifica, California, and it was before anyone heard of acid. I was conceived in a sex ritual on Devil's Slide at the Egg in Pacifica, California, and that's called a moon child. My mother escaped the birth that they had planned, the Pacifica Castle, where my grandmother dropped her off under the guise of a home for wayward girls, but it was a wicked, evil Dracula castle that had all the pregnant girls there. My mother jumped the wall pregnant with me, and I was born a few weeks early at Kaiser Hospital in San Francisco, and Elon Musk showed up there. My mother told me that someone popped their head in when she was filling out the papers for my name. And I always remember thinking the mysterious stranger at Kaiser Hospital. And May said, Claire, name her Rosemary. It's the whole Rosemary's Baby, breeding the Antichrist. That's their agenda. Every time I ran away, somebody died. Somebody wonderful, not the losers in your life that drag you down, the people that, it's always somebody wonderful and amazing who loves God and has the means to escape. When I was 5 years old once in San Francisco, I remember being called back and I didn't go. And I got a very severe spanking, but I remember the thought of staying and facing the consequences and enjoying God and nature or going back to them. And I did that once when I was 5. And then I did it again when I was 13. I had horses and I would disappear into the woods. For days, I didn't even think about water or food. God took care of me. And then I would sneak off to church. And I got saved. And thank God people were loving and kind and accepted me just the way I was, didn't try to fix me, because to throw me at the system would have just been to throw me back at the beast, because eventually they used the system too against me. Once I was in the system, they were in control of that too. Judges, social workers, mental health workers, etc. I was told it's either the babysitter or one of their experiments. And I said, okay, I'd rather be the babysitter. And my aunt dressed me really nice, and I got all cleaned up. And I met with May. I was told not to embarrass my aunt or screw it up, to do whatever she asked me. I was told, don't piss them off. They're the Bilderbergs, and I didn't know who that was. I was told they were the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. And I'll never forget those names, because that's where they were told to me at, is don't piss them off. So I met with May at a table, and she said, would I watch Elon? And she told me right out, will you watch Elon while I go see Charlie Manson? I believe it's the first time we were ever alone together. And I don't know how long we were alone together, whether it was an hour or days. I believe it ran into days. He went into his mother's room and he got into a trunk, and I remember calling it her African trunk. Light had a lot of ancient stuff, artifacts. And he got out these little statues, these little rocks with faces, and they were scary-looking little gods. They weren't friendly-looking little characters. And he set them up in a certain way, and I know he was in there. He's all excited. He was so excited. And he was in his room, and it was really dark in there. And he had blackout curtains. And he called me, Moon, come play with my friends. Nothing was happening. There was wind and sparks happening and things, and it was like shaking, like a little, not a big earthquake, but you could tell the atmospheric pressure was changing. He did more than levitate. He wasn't levitating. He was being lifted, and he was excited. And I grabbed his little wrist. Now, I normally don't grab children by the wrist. I hold their hand. It's very important for me. And he was going in, and I went in too. And there were these huge ancient ones, I want to call them. And there was no bottom. And one grabbed me by the throat. And I closed my eyes. And I assumed it was going to eat me or consume me in some way. I don't know what people describe the sleep paralysis, where you're unable to get the words out. It was that times a million, the fear. And they moved slowly. They moved in a different time. And there was a golden glow to the place. It seemed like they were black stone gods. And they were huge. And I was a little tiny rag doll, and Elyon was right there too, and he was so happy. And I cried, Jesus! When I cried out, Jesus, it stopped, and we rolled out of his room, like with great force, and we were looking at each other, and he said, Moon, why are you not like my friends? And I said, well, I don't want to go in there, Elon. It's dark in there and I'm scared. And then he told me this ridiculous excuse for darkness that I've seen him since say. I never told the family. I told someone who's dead now, tragic accident in 18. I told him, so he can't be my witness now. When I asked Imelda, who was Light's right-hand man, to my understanding, and I remember asking, is he the Antichrist? You know, I knew there was Jesus, God's guy, and then the Antichrist was going to be the devil's guy, because I was told he was the chosen one. And she said, no, but he will present the mark of the beast. And when you see him do that, the Antichrist will be ready to take the stage, ready to step forward. And Elon will lead the great deception. I knew I was working for the devil. First it was exciting, but then it was scary, and I needed out. They blocked my way out like I was a rat. Like if you're looking down at a maze and the rat's going to find the right way out and you put a door down there, there's no way out. And every time they shocked me with death, there was a whole new future. Come on, let's get your passports and papers and effects in order. Oh, look, you're going by the wrong name. This is your real name. And now I'm like a new woman at 16 or 13 or whatever. You know, I got a new name. I'm working for new people. May gives me new clothes. I was supposed to travel with her. I would sabotage it. Somebody would die. I would be in shock. We would try again later. It has to be the right dates. It has to be the right place. But I was their little experiment, and they used me. And half the time I didn't realize what I was being used for. But the last time Light called me back, it's very interesting. She sent me a book, and I wouldn't touch it. I was afraid to touch it. I was afraid to let my hands touch that book. And it had Aragon history in it. It had ancient bloodlines. It was gold and gilded, and his leather. It was like, I don't know whose leather skin was on that book, but I wouldn't open it. I wouldn't touch it. My mother called me and said, Light wants you back, and she sent you this book. I mean, it sounds crazy. I've literally gone to a dentist and had my fillings taken out. I don't want anything from them. I don't know what they did to me. The 7-day Adventist dentist said, where did you get these fillings? I've never seen this fiber. It's not known to me, and I've been a doctor for, 40 years. I don't know what they did. And some of the dreams, now I'm wondering if they weren't real. A dream of a surgery. I don't know. I thought I was really actually pretty good about differentiating the difference between a dream, a vision, a childhood memory, The word darkness doesn't freak me out. The word light freaks me out. Even when Jesus says, be the light of the world, or buy light bulbs, that word just is like, I guess if there's a trigger, that word made me shudder and turn into a fear ball for years just to hear the word light. You know, mommies say to me all the time, don't you think if little Anthony studies hard, he could be like Elon Musk? I mean, somebody literally said that to me recently. Somebody I love. And I was like, oh, dear God, our generation really is there. And yet he's a lie. He's a false idol. He's the king of Babylon. I have to warn the world that maybe what he did to me is similar to what he has planned for the rest of the world, anybody that trusts him. But this is the truth. You guys are waking up.